Hey, welcome back to the Real Estate Excellence Podcast with your host, Tracy Hayes. Today in the studio, I have one of the most successful, respected real estate agents and team owners in Northeast Florida. Her team is consistently month over month on the short list of Keller Williams Atlantic Partners Best. In 2021, her team was awarded the quadruple Platinum Award. She is a nationally recognized speaker, trainer, and featured advisor at the University of Florida Warrington Business Sales Seminars. Her passion for real estate has resulted in a deep understanding of the industry and its nuances, acting as a valuable resource available to all her customers. She's consistently producing results for these customers through her relentless focus on delivery of value and relationship building. Her daily goal is to be dynamic and insightful professional, leading her team at the Rocco Group with integrity, supporting others as they tackle their personal goals. She is the rock of the Rocco Group. Let's welcome Sarah Rocco to the show.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Nice to be here.
Excellent.
It's about time.
I stole a little bit from your, yes, it is about time. So there are some that jump right on the opportunity. Others need a little more, nagging.
It wasn't for lack of desire.
Okay. I stole some of your bio there, obviously from
I saw that.
LinkedIn. From that, you word it more better than I probably English-wise. But I really kind of want to dive in real quick. I obviously want to know where you're from, which I obviously read that on your LinkedIn. But tell us a little about your involvement with the University of Florida, though.
Yeah, thank you. So my son is a junior at the University of Florida, but one of my mentors is a professor there. Mm-hmm. So as he's seen my journey, he brings me in 2 to 3 times a year to speak at the sales seminars.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
So these are students
So they're students that are pursuing or open to a career in sales.
Okay.
And exploring what it would be like to be in a 100% type commission-based industry.
It's interesting. My Citadel alumni group, I'm the president of, and we actually had a 4-star general who's the president now. He used to be the assistant commandant of the Marine Corps. And it's so interesting how the school has changed since I was there many years ago, and the focus on setting these kids up, young adults, setting them up for a career.
Yes.
And the fact that you're in there talking about sales and then real estate, like, I mean, obviously we know a couple people did go from college to real estate, but who does that?
Sure, right.
You never heard that before.
Right.
And to start talking about real life and opportunities that are out there above and beyond, because I think a lot of our young people, and if you agree, I mean, obviously they only know what they know.
Yeah.
You know, what did mom and dad do? True. What did my uncle do? That type of thing. And that's about as far as they can go and for career experiences when there's so many things out there.
Yeah, and they're always looking kind of for a safer bet, something, and they're encouraged in our society to take a safe bet, something that's going to provide benefits and a stable salary. So showing them the rapid results we've had and the rapid growth coming from having zero business experience, really.
Right.
I'm right where they were.
That's got to be eye-opening for some of them. Mm-hmm. I imagine it just kind of blows. Some of them, well, obviously, some get it, some don't, next. But some sit there and see what you're doing with some of the young people, because your team seems to be fairly young when I look at the picture overall.
Thank you for calling me young.
You're fourth. I wanted to actually make a comment. When I went on your website, I love that video playing in the background that is whoever put that together. You have a videographer on staff, I noticed.
Yeah.
That's
we actually went through a transition, but we have one rejoining in June.
Oh, cool. Yeah, because that video looks really cool. Playing behind the actual thing.
Thank
you. You're from Montana.
Yes.
Tell us about that. Tell us about growing up in Montana.
So born in Billings, Montana, and a lot of my family is still there. So I say I have Montana roots, but I'm Florida grown because I moved when I was fairly young. My dad transferred here from Montana steel industry to steel industry. There's a large steel industry here, Can-Am Steel. So.
Oh, I didn't realize that. Okay.
Yeah, So I mean, my roots.
I'm gonna imagine when you got that memo, like, hey, we want to transfer. Someone came in here, hey, we want to transfer you to Florida from Billings, Montana.
Like, where do I sign? It's amazing.
Well, I guess it depends on what his hobbies are. He's a big hunter. He's probably like, what? But you could still do that here.
Yeah. But Montana, I have grown to absolutely love as like a secondary home.
Yeah.
Because, aunts, uncles there, both in Bozeman and Big Sky and skiing and summers and glacier, and I mean, it's beautiful.
It's one of those, when my parents did RV'd for like a decade after they retired, and that was one of my places my dad wanted to go, and they worked the summer outside Glacier National Park there because he just wanted to spend his time in Montana. So you come here. I assume you went to the University of Florida.
I did not. No, I actually decided not to pursue college.
Saved a lot of money.
Saved a lot of money for my folks and the stress of all that for myself, and then actually got married fairly young, the right way. I got pregnant 6 months after we got married, but I got married young and started a family, and I came from like a family of entrepreneurs, so it was always exciting to me, the idea of it.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's interesting because more and more of the top agents that I'm meeting, college education. I mean, some of them do. Yeah. Some of them are actually very educated, but others, not that you're educated in probably a better way, but. When you're standing in front of some of these college kids at University of Florida and say, I don't have a degree. I didn't, I don't know what it. Well, in-state's probably not too bad, but imagine out-of-state at University of Florida is probably $40-50 grand a year. So you save $200,000 right there, and then where you've gone with your career and success, because obviously, everyone.
But I will say though, before I started the real estate company, I did go back to college and pursue that, and I thought it's what I would want to do.
Right.
And it wasn't fulfilling like I expected. Now, later in life, I actually may end up going back.
I think obviously to me it's it's 4 years of trying to mature a little bit more and come in the workplace and say, well, I got a degree, so obviously I think one of the things young people miss today is actually accomplishing things. My son's in the Boy Scouts, and then I tell him, hey, just stick with it and get your Eagle Scout. Because that's the one thing you can't take away from you, and you complete it. Just like your college degree, you get it, you can't take it away from you. And that's just one measure there. So you start your family young.
Yes.
Are you working at this time, or are you just kind of stay-at-home mom? Or
no,
what you doing?
Stay-at-home mom. That was the choice that we made. And my ex-husband at the time, or now ex-husband, he ran a company, so I got to see the ins and outs of that and the chaos that's included in that. But it was always intriguing because you had the ability and the flexibility and freedom. Right. That was always really exciting. So raised the family, had 3 kids, homeschooled for many years, and then my life just shifted completely when I was 28 years old.
What happened then?
Went through a divorce.
Okay.
And, unexpectedly had
Does he regret it today?
Figure out. What's that?
I'm sure he regrets it today, but go ahead.
I won't comment. But so it was surprising, and I had to really invent myself because my only identity was a mom at that point.
Yeah.
And so when I think of these other single mothers going through identity challenges, I can completely relate to that.
It is amazing. Again, a good number of the top agents. This is your episode 65, and I've obviously spoke to almost 60 of them been agents, and how many of them are single moms, or like Shonda last week, she was not a single mom, but she was a stay-at-home mom before she jumped in. But there's been many others that have you guys have treaded over the same turf, so to speak, in the sense of being that stay-at-home mom, divorce, or you've got got a couple kids, and now you've got to create yourself.
Yes.
So what do you're out there? This happens to you. What are you doing?
I think so. There was no backup plan. It was either I succeed at this, or else. Like there's nothing else. And, you got 3 kids, hungry kids, and you have to make it work. So I think the fact that I was a little bit naive in the sense that there were so many giants in our industry that had come before that were doing it really well. I literally would read books and study podcasts and different things and just implement. So if they said to door knock, my golly, I would door knock 5 times a week. Right. And I didn't know that actually most people don't do that. I was like, well, everyone's doing that.
They don't let that secret out.
Right. Or cold calling. Right. I didn't realize it said to do it if you want to have success. So I was going to do it.
Right.
And so I just started implementing exactly what was told in these models.
So on your LinkedIn, you have is it SCLP Property Management?
Yes.
Was that your husband's company, or that's
that
kind of
is
your first job?
That was my first investment property.
Okay.
That I started.
Oh, okay.
That I bought, and then I grew it into like a property management company.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So you're 28 years old. Mm-hmm. Who introduces you to real estate, or is that something you've been thinking about for a while?
So I think that's something that makes it very interesting. Is it wasn't in my family, mm-hmm. or it wasn't something that was like highly talked about. But my aunt in Montana, she said, "I know you're going to school and you want to be a nurse, and mm-hmm. But I really think you'd be great at real estate."
Right.
And I was like, "Okay, I'll give it a shot."
But she wasn't a real estate agent herself.
No.
Interesting.
She's an entrepreneur, never went to college,
right.
Super successful, and she encouraged
So she plants a seed.
Yeah, she plants a seed, and then I started reaching out to people I knew. Mm-hmm. And my sister-in-law is in Atlanta at the time, and she had gotten her real estate license and had some early success. And I reached out to her, and I said, "How's it going?" She's like, "Oh, you got to do it." So this was 2016.
Yeah.
And so I got my license pretty quickly and started January 1st, 2016. And
yes, so it's for those new agents out there, and I'm sure you have some young agents on your team. I know they're just getting started.
Right.
Tell us about where are you learning from? Is there a mentor you're linked up to? Tell us how you get to that first couple of sales.
Yeah, so I took everything and anything. If you look at my first 27 families helped in that first year, I had a $33,000 purchase, mm-hmm. all the way up to $300,000-400,000. So I was open to taking anything that would give me information or give me knowledge. But I joined Keller Williams, and Keller Williams to me is just a great base of education.
Right.
So the education there, the people I was surrounded with, I was like a little sponge. Like I was always listening. Like it was annoying probably to people. Well, so there'd be teams all around, and they come from a very sharing culture, which I love.
Yeah.
And so they would share things with me, and I would go implement.
It isn't the one of the common themes that I have is surrounding yourself by successful people.
Yes.
And the Keller Williams Atlantic Partners, especially South Side here, mm-hmm. seems to have so many people that is so it's just I admire in the agents there
as people
in that
right?
as people, and I've had
business
several
owners.
of them on, but they're business and they're doing well. I can imagine just if you want to start, you want to be around that office. If there's any one office in Jacksonville to be on, that's one of them. You should be there because of all the greats in there. Mm-hmm. Can you comment on this? You don't really see. I find top agents. This is another thing. They don't see the other agents as competition.
Oh, right.
And being in an office like the partners on South Side with other great people, or Engel and Volkers. I know Corey talked about. He's a young guy, and he's recruited all these really top producers, and how they feed off each other. Mm-hmm. How important was that when you were growing up in your real estate career at Southside?
Well, I will say that there used to be 8,000 to 10,000 listings on the market, and it was a lot less. They're my competition. Mm-hmm. Now with 1,800, I'm like, you are my competition. Truly, honestly, but otherwise, but that as far as sharing, because you don't see that as like scarcity mindset. Like I'm not going to share my secrets because you're going to go do it. Like most people don't implement it.
No.
They hear it, but they won't implement it. So I always share all the time.
Right.
But yeah, it's a sharing culture.
Yeah.
Which is it's refreshing.
And how important? In your success. So you're only 6 years coming up. This is your 6th year, right?
6 years. 6
years, and where you're at and the size of your team. How important? Because I know I see your posts and the things you're doing, and some of the places you're going, and events that you're putting on, or whether you're speaking or whatever. How important was to be around those people to create the Rocco group as it is today? I wouldn't say you politely borrowed ideas from all these great people all around you.
I wouldn't be where I am today had I have not been invited to Family Reunion, which is a large conference, February, right after I started. I went to that conference. It cost me money. It was painful.
Mm-hmm.
The growth I experienced in that one conference changed my life. Because it took me from being a locally seeing real estate as on a local level to global.
Right. Interesting.
Beyond what I could see.
You just got started.
Yeah.
You obviously probably didn't have a lot of money.
No.
How much do you think it cost you? Just
$2,500.
$2,500
Yeah.
for a few days in Dallas. I would imagine is where it was, right?
Yeah, like New Orleans.
But the conference and being. Now, you didn't even talk about the guest speakers. You were more referencing the people who were just there from Keller Williams from all over the country.
Yeah.
And
actually, one guy was on the stage, and afterwards I reached out to him on Facebook, and I was like, can I get 10 minutes of your time? And that is one thing I always do is the speaker I address immediately, and I get in their face.
Ah, a little tip right there.
Always.
Grab the speaker, ask for 10 minutes.
Yes.
Interesting.
Or say, can I get 1 minute of your time? Whatever they'll give you.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, that 1 minute ends up because they're speaking because they want to share.
Of course.
And then the fact that you actually took attention and took the initiative, say, can I get a minute with you?
Yeah.
That ends up being, that could end up being into a lunch or a dinner.
And it did. Yeah. They flew me out to Maryland to meet the team. It ended up being great.
Just because you asked for 10 minutes.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's so. One of the things we talk about is investing in yourself. Mm-hmm. You didn't ask for someone else to pay for it. You probably borrowed on a credit card.
I did.
To get out there, and that change your trajectory right off the
1,000%.
launch. Wow, that's powerful stuff. Invest in yourself. These events, and so you were there for a couple of days, I would imagine, right? These events go on for a couple of days. You're only talking about one little instance where the guy might have spoke for half an hour, 45 minutes, and then you asked for 10 minutes, and the rest of it was not even at the event. So literally in less than 1 hour and 2 days, you took out something there, and that $2,500 now is worth, it's priceless, right?
Yeah.
So you come back, you visit these areas, you're still, in your first year. How are you? What did you grab from that? How are you getting started? Is the Rocco group something like in your vision now, or you're just worried about? Hey, I'm worried about getting my first couple sales. 27 in your first year.
Right. So I was very small-minded prior to that event. Meaning not small-minded. Like I still had a big vision, but it was Sarah sells Jacks, which is very singular, very focused inward, and it's great. Like that's fine if that's your vision. But I realized that to attract talent to that would be I'd hit a ceiling pretty quickly. So after that, like about 8 months in, I decided I needed to rebrand, and I was Sarah Schneider at the time. I was like, well, there's no way in heck, I'm gonna brand my ex's name.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So I went back to my maiden name.
There you go.
And Rocco's such a strong name, and then I just hit
short
the ground running
to the point.
Yeah, it's like Sirhan.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. So you rebrand.
Yes.
But tell us some of the real nuts and bolts. You mentioned cold calling and knocking on doors.
Yeah.
What are some of the first things you're doing to market yourself? You just rebranded. So what are you doing to get that out there? As a new agent listening right now, what are you? Because I've heard a lot of agents say, let everybody know that you're doing real estate. Well, that's easy if you're willing to get on social media right now.
Right.
But 5 years ago,
or
6 years ago, that was a little different.
I was an early adapter of social media.
Mm-hmm.
So I jumped into social media right away. I posted when I was door knocking. I posted when I was doing open houses. So I actually jumped in pretty quickly to that, and that's how I got exposure. But I was hustling. Like anyone says that it's not work is lying.
Well, you must have been you sold 27 in the first year.
I actually when my dad decided to relocate here, we didn't relocate to Jacksonville. We relocated an hour west of here. So when I wanted to start the company and I went through my life change, I moved to Jacksonville where I didn't know a soul. So when most people have roots somewhere. And so my only friends were the people that would talk to me at Starbucks or, exactly like door knocking.
Right.
Those became my friends. Like, actually, recently I had people reaching out to me that I had met like years and years ago because they were getting our newsletters.
Right.
Yeah. So does that answer your question?
Well, what I want to lead in is you were letting everyone, you were going to Starbucks and meeting people, you were handing out business cards, you were really doing the real grassroots campaign.
It wasn't fancy though. Now we're so focused on it being perfect and on Canva for 5 hours before door knocking. It's like, it was not fancy. I was literally plugging into whatever CRM was provided by Keller and printing off a very generic flyer and going.
Right.
My business card, I literally I used Keller Williams templates. Like, I didn't use anything fancy because it's not about fancy.
Right.
It's like they want to work with you.
One of the guys I follow, his name's Steve Kyles, and he says if it's worth doing badly.
Sure.
And I think, not to say you were doing it badly, but
I was.
It wasn't perfect.
Oh, yeah.
You didn't wait around for the perfect flyer. You didn't wait around for the perfect business card. You didn't wait around until you had $2,500 to go. You went and stretched and you went and did it. And that's the difference maker if you want to get off to a fast start or not.
Yeah,
I mean,
you have to be naive enough to know, like, not let all the hearsay be, sink in. Right. Is what I would say.
Did you ever have someone we talk about hearsay tell you couldn't do it?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, all the time.
Yeah.
So I actually took like my core group of people that did the education with me for 8 weeks, and I quit being with them because there was so much like negativity around the things they were experiencing in their first 12 weeks. And I was like, well,
because they were getting no's like you were getting no's, but when you hear their no's, it doubles down.
Correct. So I looked back at my core Ignite group, and there's maybe 2 people out of 20 some that are in the industry today.
Still,
which maybe those numbers are good.
What do they say? Shut off the noise, or
literally turn that noise.
Turn
down.
that off. Turn the negativity off. Yeah. So what do you do today? You're leading. I don't know, roughly is about, what do you have, look like about 19. 19. So you're leading these young people today. What do you do to stay sharp? Is there anyone particularly you're following, or are you just picking up industry books, podcasts? What are you doing to stay sharp?
Yeah, so as a leader, if you aren't continuing to grow, then they're going to outgrow you, essentially. Yeah, and you're no longer bringing value to them. So for me, it is...
that is powerful. That is a very powerful statement right there.
If you quit bringing value to them, what's going to happen?
Yeah.
They're going to leave.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They got enough out of you. They're going to go find another broker that's going to pull... Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah.
So I read a lot of books. I listen to podcasts, audiobooks. I have 2 coaches and a mentor. Which is a game changer. I have an operations coach. I have a visionary, more big thinker coach. And then I have a mentor that I've been mentoring with and those are weekly calls, so 3 calls a week.
Weekly calls. Keep it, because you have to stay, to me, those calls, my coach and reading the books, it's like, you're like it's energy to me. It's power. It's you're feeling. So when you stand up,
sometimes it's like.
Oh yeah, well yeah, you got to. They're telling you like, you got pie on your face.
Yeah,
you
exactly.
You need to stop doing that.
Right.
And trying to break you of the habit. But
the
energy you get out of it, because when you get in front of these kids, that's part of it.
Pouring out so much.
Yes.
That if you're not refilling in some capacity, you will be
exhausted, and
you'll be bankrupt.
It's just going down. Yeah, that is so important. I don't think people that's thing I preach of the personal development, and that's a wide. That is such today. There's so many areas you can get that from. Again, obviously the obvious things is the books and podcasts, but going to events, investing in yourself to go find these things because you need these little boosts of energy. Chasing the next little shiny object. That's actually the phrase that a lot of people use, because you can there's this new Instagram thing, or it's the new text messaging or whatever it is.
Or you even 100%. Just simply become like a conference junkie, or you become that person that's at everything, but what are you actually implementing and changing?
Right. You can go from one conference after another and become an expert at nothing.
Exactly.
You're an expert at the conference,
yes.
and you've been, but it's like what I got out of Grant's book 10X was find that thing find the thing that you like doing. And actually, John Brooks led me on to something I haven't taken. Is this strength? It's a disc assessment, but more, and will actually finds what you like doing and what you're good at. Is the way is the way he broke it down. I got to take it and see what it actually says for me. But to find that thing, and 10x it, just like you're saying, execute on it.
Leverage everything else that you're not as good at.
Because there's so many, I think we forget that a lot of these advertisements that we see and stuff for all these trinkets that we can use and so forth, they're just people out there just, obviously they're trying to make money. Not saying that it won't work for you.
Right.
It's a tool, but you can go from one tool and never actually, construct the house.
Get the trenches to do the work.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That's high level right there. That really brings it down to some people.
If you're thinking of building a team, the only things you listen to is about team building. You only go to conventions that would support team building. If you're looking to fix your marketing or work on your marketing, you only focus on that.
10x on it.
Yeah.
That's huge advice right there. And so many, I think, get into the the new agents get in, and loan officers too. You're like, we got the CRM over here, and then we got this, and all these little trinkets. Oh, it'll print this flyer off for you, and no one wants the flyer, bro. No one wants the flyer. We all want to conserve trees.
Right.
And if you want to do something, is that I see that you can your business card on your phone. You can tap someone else's. Tap someone and boom, it's right there. You can do that.
Yeah.
that won't take up too much time of your day.
Right.
Is there any one person though in the 6 years you've been doing has been like that mentor or just resource that you've always just looked up to and if that something happened to that person today, you'd be right there because they were right there for you?
Yeah, so one guy right off the bat, his name is Peter Darby. He was a past customer of mine 2.5 years ago, moving from California. Very well established and well known in his industry. And as I was selling them their home, he told me that he enjoys mentoring people. So I said, well, should the transaction go well, would I be able to earn the opportunity to have you as my mentor?
Okay.
And so we talk every Monday at 2 p.m. We have for years. They've become my family and vice versa.
Interesting.
Yeah, and it's changed my life.
To someone out there doesn't have a coach or a mentor, how important has it been to your career? Obviously, you got two coaches and a mentor, right? Some people don't even, and I have talked to, Angie Bell, with the partnership. She is a coach, and she said when she first got into real estate, she knew from the corporate world, the first thing she did was hire a coach.
Right.
How important is to have that mentor or coach? Especially if you're new and you really want to get off to the right start and get moving in the right direction.
So I hired a coach as soon as I could afford it, and I hired them in October 2016. I took 1 year off in 2020 when I was going through some personal stuff with my father without a coach, but I have had a coach ever since October 2016, always.
It's made a complete difference.
It has
Shorten your learning curve.
I could get there on my own. I knew I'd get there, but could I get there 10 times faster?
Right.
With coach and, hey, do this, don't do this. Do it.
Because they're bringing it, to have that person that's
that
knowledge and on your team. Obviously, you want them to bring knowledge, but has that experience. But someone you can call up and say, "Man, what do you think of this?"
Right.
And for them to turn it back to you with some great thought and is powerful, and it definitely moves you along.
And I think the biggest thing is a lot of people don't realize that someone would be happy to pay that forward. So the gentleman, Peter, I said, how can I compensate you? It is your time every week, and there's no charge.
Right.
And he said,
that's the best mentor of all. But
he said, pay it forward.
Pay it forward.
So I will be seeking when I get to a point that I can to pay it forward.
Well, you are in a way because you are your team. You are their coach, mentor, all the above. Probably mom sometimes.
Right. Yeah, I literally am. It's an adult daycare sometimes.
They didn't hear that. They're not watching.
No, they're not.
So when does the Rocco group come to vision for you? I mean, is it something you initially say, I want to get this and I want to have a huge team? But it sounds like did you work up to it and say, you know what, I can actually create this?
No, when I went to that first convention, I said, I'm going to be the #1 team in Jacksonville. And since then, my vision has changed a little bit because I'm a big proponent of work-life balance.
Right.
And having a really big personal life. So we'll see. #1 isn't so much the goal because I realized that was a little bit ego-driven. And I really had to reestablish my why behind why I wanted to create this big life.
We mentioned there's a lot of fairly young people on your team. Obviously, some are new. Some hopefully have some experience. When you're recruiting agents, are you actively recruiting, or did they come to you?
So agent-wise, they are coming to me. But we're always recruiting for agents.
Right.
If they're talent and they're hungry and smart and humble, we're always recruiting agents.
So have you ever turned someone down?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
we're very particular.
So when you have that person sitting across from you, I mean, what are some of the keys that you're looking for to pick up on this? Obviously someone who has potential.
Yeah, I love potential talent. But the issue that I run into is I want to fix everyone.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, I know exactly what you need to do.
Yeah.
But I like them to have the ability to be successful on their own. Like, I'd like to see that they took the first initial steps, that they were doing open houses, door knocking, and I like to get them when they're about 6 months in, where they have realized that they need more. They need more help. They need
that coach.
They need the coach. They need the mentoring.
Right.
And then I can just take them to six figures like that.
Now, I noticed on your website, some of them you do split them up, listing and buying.
We have dual agents.
You have dual agents as well.
We have, dual agents. So I believe that to get good at anything, you need to focus on that until you have it down. So our model is the first 24 families helped are buyers. Once you test out of that, then you go through a listing boot camp that then allows you to be a dual agent.
Because the listing is a little more, from what I understand, not being an agent.
Yeah.
It's a different focus, a different mindset.
It is.
And to come out and just do both, unless you're just talented in that way, you, like you said, to focus on the one thing and master that, and then you can move on to the next, graduate up.
Yeah, it's a different level of skill, and you have to have a little bit tougher skin. To be a listing agent, and you have to know your stuff.
What do you do to help them expand their circles? I mean, are you guys? I mean, do you buy some leads, or is everyone organic, or is there a mix? What do you?
So they get to choose their 3 lead gen levers, and we're 75-25. So 75% of the business is team generated, 25 is agent generated. So that's what we like to see.
Team generated.
Mean leads.
Okay.
Yeah, so we'll provide about 75% of the leads if you will bring in 25%. We like to stay about that ratio.
I imagine, obviously, the goal is to wean off of having to pay for them.
Yeah, well, we're pretty organic now.
Yeah. What are some of the things that in your 6-year career, yourself or you have your team do to really dig in? Because I think a lot of people don't understand the influences that they have, or positively exploit the influences they have. Oh, well, my kid's on the ball team. You want everybody there to know that this is what you do.
Right.
I am my alumni association. Everyone knows because I'm on social media all the time with the podcasts and stuff. So they're constantly seeing me all the time.
Right.
That's probably one of my biggest is my the 350 alumni that are in the area. That's probably my #1 organic lead source, even more than realtor refers. They're calling me every month. I want to refinance. My daughter's moving into town, or whatever it is. And then sometimes it does go out of state. So what do you do to really get some of these young people to dig deep and find those circles and hopefully expand them?
Yeah, honestly, we're not that great at it, but it's our focus in 2022 is to teach them how to have those conversations with their sphere of influence, teach them to dig into the uncomfortability of making it a work conversation. Like, hey, this is what I do, and you've been a big supporter of me in my life. I would love you to take a chance on me and my team.
You use social media. What are you preaching to your team?
Use social media.
Yeah.
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 But if that's not their lever, I don't preach it. So if that's one of their levers, we go deep in that lever.
Okay.
And if they go deep in social media and they're not getting the results, then we're going to change the lever. Mm-hmm. Or we're going to just put the gas on the lever.
How do you measure that? How do you measure they're deep in the social media, but they're not getting any results? I mean, obviously some of these people are young.
Yeah, it takes like 6 months to see any type of results from social media, I believe. Like a lead standpoint. Like you'll get likes and clicks and shares and all of that. But as far as like actually getting income, earning ROI from it, it takes about 6 months.
I was given advice wisely by when I first, because the first 12 years I was in the call center, when I came out on the street, and the advice was, don't go after the big fish like yourself from a loan officer world to come after something, because of you generally have, and they want to see what you're going to do. Is that from some of these young people in relation to the social media, it's probably going to take them 6 months of saying, I'm a realtor, and all the different ways you can do it, before someone goes, oh, I guess they're actually sticking with this. Because people are watching you. You don't know they're watching you. Subliminally, they're watching you. Oh, you're still doing that? Okay. Oh, you must be doing something.
And it does sometimes feel a little braggadocious, but it's just kind of leaning into the industry that we're in, is sharing your wins, sharing what you're doing, and you have to have a healthy balance of personal and business.
Right.
So like my Instagram page is all personal. Then we have the business page.
Right.
Because I have just chosen that I want people to get to know me.
Right. I found, we were talking just last week with a couple of topics, and how if you're putting out enough of that content, which it sounds like some of the stuff that you were doing initially was like, hey, I'm doing a showing today, or hey, I'm going visiting this great restaurant, or at this great coffee shop.
That's what I tell my team to do.
Yeah,
and that's what they're doing.
And people are following, and they do create. You are creating a relationship, because they are getting to know you. They see where you hang out. Right. They see what you're doing today, what you're wearing, whatever
Yes. That's part of it.
And they kind of get to know you. And from that standpoint, and I think people are missing out. Also, I think here is not that social media doesn't work everywhere, but here in Florida, a lot of people obviously are moving from out of state. They don't know who you are, and then if you're putting that social media out there, maybe they see you, and they go, they are Googling you. They are finding out who you are. They want to find out if you have an arrest record. Who knows? Right? They're Googling you to see what's there.
Right.
And if you're popping up on, the YouTube videos popping up, your Instagram's popping up, and they're able to click on that. And we're all hooked on the Instagram Reels right now. People are doing some funny and great stuff out there.
So
people get hooked when they start looking at
Yes.
one picture of you. They're looking at the next and the next and the next. They're going back and they get a whole vision of what you're doing. And that you are human and you are there.
You have to get some return.
Yeah.
Like, otherwise, why? Why are you spending all this time for a beautiful feed or beautiful content if there's no return?
Right. So, that's the question. Is that just a natural click that happens, or how can you?
Well, you have to engage.
How do you engage? Explain that.
So I engage by I was a big proponent of Facebook, so I have friends list. Alphabetized. So, and then I every quarter reach out to those letters of the alphabet. I hope none of my customers are watching.
Well, when you have so many friends, you kind of have to do that, right? You kind of have to categorize.
And then you're intentional, and then a lot of people share their personal life on social media
all the time.
And then I'll plug it into the CRM, so I have that info. And then when I call them on my quarterly
happy
calls,
birthday.
Yeah, no, it's more so like, oh my gosh, I saw Jimmy won his tournament.
Yes.
And then I'm writing that their son's name is Jimmy and he turned 6 and so on and so forth. Right. So people want you to know more about their children and their fur babies than their own life. So if I can talk to them about their children or their fur animals, then
there's a tip right there. The fur babies and the kids. That's actually brilliant.
Yeah.
When you think about it, but that when you think about the great people that we know in life, and like for example, I had the event this weekend. The president of the Citadel came down, 4-star general. He didn't become a 4-star general by not knowing the kids and the fur babies.
Right.
Because that becomes a political role as you move up, and it's the same thing in sales, the longevity.
Yes.
that, oh, they remembered my name. No, well, you may have had to reference something, but you were actually smart enough to write it down because you felt they were important enough to write it down and know that their son was Johnny and he played baseball or whatever.
Yes.
I think a lot of people underestimate the power. It's just like, well, how to win friends and influence people using people's names, right? They want to hear their name. It's the same thing. It is important to them.
In an industry where you could be replaced with technology and AI and so many other disruptors, the relationship is going to be crucial. But in addition to the relationship, now we're seeing is people are choosing convenience over the relationship. So how do you become the convenient person, the convenient option? That used to be just have that loyalty, that relationship, that it still matters.
There's always forces trying to come in and say they're bigger, better, faster.
Of course. So how do you become both? How do you give them the relationship and the convenience factor that's so attractive?
That's powerful right there. That's something I don't think we've ever convenience in the relationship together. We've always talked about relationships on the show. Everyone, obviously relationship building is key to our industry, but how do you make it convenient for them?
Yeah.
So
and it's actually through programs. It's through platforms that you have for selling their home. It's no longer just standard real estate. You have to have a menu of services you provide.
Give us an example of we know you're building the relationship part, but convenience is something that you're bringing in, and we're not using some Quicken Loans online or Loan Depot online or something like that. How are you making it convenient? What's some little things as an agent that makes it convenient for your customers to use?
So, for instance, we have a cash offer program. We have a concierge program. So if they don't want to put in the upfront money to renovate their home to get a higher ROI, we fund all of that up front, and they pay out of the proceeds. So again, it's just that we're providing this opportunity for them to make more money, and we're that convenience for them.
Could that be someone like needs a roof repair and they don't have the cash, and you'll put it up to have it done just to get the... Woo! There's one there for you guys right there. That's powerful when you reach Sarah's level and expand on that. And obviously there's some contractual paperwork that's handled here. I'm sure. Yeah. But how, especially like right now, just think I just mentioned roofs because that popped to my head because I got a deal right now where they were worried about the appraiser might say something about the roof. Luckily they didn't, so they can handle it after closing. But yeah, you're trying to sell a house and you got an old roof on it right now.
Right.
That's the people are going to come in and lowball you because they know their insurance is going to be higher. It's an expense they're going to need to put out within, probably the first year, if not, doing a loan with an escrow holdback on the roof, which is other expenses.
We're talking like
you're stepping forward and adding that concierge service.
But that can be paid at closing by a vendor. But we're talking about like the paint vendor, the flooring, the new cabinets, the new, So it's even thinking, it's further.
Because right now in the marketplace, by making it, even though you could, the houses are selling right away, you might have an investor come in, but obviously everyone's trying to save money. They don't want to give you more than what you're accepting. But you go in there and spend a few $1,000s on paint and some new carpet, and all of a sudden you're getting $10,000-$20,000 more with that little investment, which has always been part of real estate.
They're not going to get that with the box real estate. They're not going to get that.
Right. You need an out-of-box thinker like Sarah to take that. That's a tidbit. I assume some others may be doing that. I'm sure others are probably holding back on, I don't want to put out that money. But you obviously researchers, you probably picked up that idea from somewhere. One of your conferences. So, and being in Jacksonville, there is a lot of older homes that are in this type of situation. They don't need a complete renovation to sell it, but they may need some landscaping, or like I said, the paint and the carpet, roof, or whatever. That is constant. Someone else mentioned because we were talking about luxury buyers. Lisa Barton, that's right, Lisa Barton with Keller Williams out at the beach, and she was talking about she goes into a home and maybe the kitchen does need to be updated. She's having her contractor out there and getting a number. So when the buyer comes in and says, this is what it would cost. Right. They're not saying, hey, well, go get your contractor and go think about it. Correct. Or obviously if the buyer's coming into someone else's home and they're just going, oh, I'm not going to buy that because the kitchen needs to be redone. She already knows that. You're providing that up front. It's removing that objection right away.
Mm-hmm. And if it's like a full renovation, we'll have a sketch drawn of what it could be to provide it to buyers, because buyers typically cannot see past what they've first seen.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
To see a different vision.
Right.
It's not their force.
The bed's not made or something. It turns them off. Yeah. Will my bed fit in here? Yeah. It will. That's a king size bed. Your king size bed will fit there too.
Yes, exactly.
I was focused on that, and it brought up another question. Maybe will come back to me here. So tell us about your team. You have some. Tell us about the key players and who's been with you longest.
Can I touch back on something really quick?
Yeah, of course.
So you said that in your industry, you don't pursue the big fish. Like a lot of lenders think, I'm going to stick with like maybe some newer, maybe some smaller.
As a newbie on the street, because they want you I knew a lot of, because I've been doing this for years. Yeah. I knew some big fish. They knew me, but now going out in the retail world, his advice is, don't go after them because they already have their business. Do some business. Show them that you can do it and who you are.
The key. Yeah.
Build the a little bit of influence and obviously credibility that you are actually out here doing it. Because even though coming from a call center to the retail world, I was like, where's your book of business? All the other types. It's not that difficult. But if you are not willing to actually go out and sit down and have coffee with a real estate agent, you probably shouldn't be a loan officer in the retail environment. You should maybe go to a call center.
I've been surprised knowing our industry is closely aligned that not that many people reach out. And I will always say no the first time. And most of the time they do not reach out again.
Interesting.
It blows my mind. And I say no to everyone the first time, and I love persistence. Now, don't go reaching out to me. But I'm just
They're going to call her every day for the next week now.
It's really surprising.
Yeah.
Because we follow up until you buy, sell, or die.
Right.
But, why isn't that if we are your customer, right?
That's interesting. But what's funny? I was talking to my coach this morning, and we're talking about something, and I'll talk to you about this after the show, because I really do want your opinion on, or at least an idea on it. It's kind of like dating.
Okay.
And it's like, okay. So I asked her. She said no. Okay. Now some guys obviously will stay persistent.
Got it.
But then you don't want to be that guy or girl who's asking all the time, and I have done told you no 3 times. Now I'm telling the other agents. You say no one time, you don't tell anybody. Oh, this guy keeps calling me every week and wants to do business. Yeah. But yet, when you go to our conventions, they're just loan officer things. They are talking about, hey, call this person for 12 weeks, once a week, or text message. Hey, because half the time they're not going to answer anyway. It's going to go voicemail or whatever. Send a card or touch them for 12 weeks. After about 12 weeks, if they just move on to someone else. That's exactly. That's kind of their advice. Yeah. So tell us about some of your key players on the Rocco group.
Okay, great. Yeah, so we have, we have a lot of people. We have 3 virtual assistants in the Philippines. We have 2 in-house transaction coordinators, listing manager, marketing director, videographer. We recently reshuffled the deck, and our director of operations and executive assistant saw other opportunities. So we're actually hiring right now. I have 8 interviews this week. We had 100+ applicants, and we whittled it down.
What are your virtual assistants doing?
They are doing agent concierge, so they are the concierge team for the agents. Because our goal at the Rocco Group is to take off the 80% off the agent's plate, so they can do their 20%, show up for customers, shake hands, kiss babies, look great.
Make the phone ring.
Interesting
concept.
I know, right?
I'm trying to preach that here.
Okay. So we take off the 80%. So that VA team, virtual assistant team, is vital. They do everything.
So they're calling past customers?
They are not. No, that's our client care team. That's our transaction coordinators, our listing managers, myself.
Calling past customers, maybe someone you sold a house to last year. Calling up now, you're still doing that in-house,
I'm a little
more
bit
personable.
More personable.
Okay.
I want it to be. I don't want them to feel like they're being cold called. Right. They could cold call, but not my database.
So, I guess simple that down to
Yeah.
what that virtual assistant's doing. You're saying,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, agent concierge. So we have someone who runs the phones from Friday through the weekend. So she is there for them, so it doesn't have to
Someone
be me.
always answers the phone.
Well, answer the phones and answer any question an agent needs.
Okay.
I need to set up a showing for me. I need a showing assistant. I need a purchase contract written up. Like, they are their right hand.
So the virtual assistant's actually preparing the contract.
But they don't send it out. We don't allow that.
Yeah.
It's still the agent
Comes
has
back
to,
for
like,
you
look
to
over
quickly
it.
review.
Yep,
They just
and
filled in
then
the
send it.
basics
Yep.
and got it going.
So they'll do the templates to all the email offers. They'll do templates. So then on the seller side, if we get 20 offers, they submit all the offers to the seller on a spreadsheet. They take off all the back end.
Wow.
Yeah,
Because
they set up
these
the
are the
time.
little tools that they have for real estate agents.
Yes.
And you're executing by,
Yeah.
because I imagine there's some sort of software they insert that, so it spits out a nice report for the seller.
Yes.
Yeah.
Correct.
Cool.
So that's what they're doing. And then we have 7 agents on our team, and then we have 2 inside sales associates that just make calls.
So what I find interesting in your concept here is you're almost like a cruise ship. You almost have a 1-for-1. You have one support for every salesperson.
That's the goal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
We're very heavy in the operation side. My P&L
expand
isn't
on
as happy, but
yeah,
it makes up for it.
oh yeah.
Yeah.
Because so expand on your ideology a little bit with that concept, because I think a lot of people, much like say Melissa Rick's concept of how she runs her team, how you really want that one support staff for every producing agent that you have.
Yeah.
What is your 30,000 foot ideology on that?
So I love the Philippines assistants. Like, they're amazing. We just call them admin assistants. I would like every person to have a VA just for them.
Mm-hmm.
So an agent to have an assistant, everyone to have that, because that's a huge help.
Yeah.
And then showing assistant, so they can go out and get the deals done, and they have a showing assistant when they get to a certain level of production.
Mm-hmm.
To me, that level of production is probably around 60 deals a year, and then they need
60.
Yeah,
To the point where they can have an assistant.
yeah, where they
A
know
showing
where they
assistant.
need a full-time showing assistant.
Okay,
They can't
full-time
keep
showing,
up with
okay.
it on their own.
They're not just,
Like,
hey,
they're-
I got something going on this weekend.
Correct.
Can you cover for me?
We have
They do that
all
yeah.
the time,
Yeah.
right? But for them to actually bring someone onto their pod or their team,
60, yeah.
I think
that
it's
makes
around
sense.
60 transactions, and that leverage is priceless.
Yeah. You did 27 your first year. You pushing these people to 60.
Oh,
I'm just messing.
yeah. Well, I push them to what they want. Like,
Right,
what's your income
right.
goal?
That is
What do you
such
want?
it's so refreshing, because I don't think people realize the power, like you're talking about the personal development time and going to events and so forth.
Right.
And when you have that, as Donnie has Derek here, to take that load off, so because he's got to go out and make the phone ring, but he also needs time to think
Yes.
and envision and do all those things. It's not something it's, you come in, there are those people, those virtual assistants. I'm hearing it all on podcasts. I'm hearing it from coaches and so forth.
Yeah.
These virtual assistants, they are highly educated.
Oh, yeah.
They speak
yeah.
good English, and
I
there's
will
services
fly
out there
this
that
year
will.
and see them at some point.
Oh, is that right? Okay.
yeah.
I had a guest on actually back in October. She actually has that service where and you're depending on who you're using, $5 to $10 an hour is really what you're looking for in expense, and maybe they're working 20 hours for you a week. And I mean, not to say just telling on how busy you are, but there's a lot of things they can be doing.
Right.
I mean, she talked about virtually is like her executive assistant, because she has a office in real estate in Atlanta, is virtually that virtual assistant,
Yeah.
because they're up when you're up, and they're taking the phone calls,
Right.
and they're scheduling, and you're saying I need to do that,
Oh,
and they can do all that.
Oh yeah.
You don't realize the power of
Right.
what's out there, and how much that relieves for the creativity, the because there is you talked earlier about personal life
Right.
and doing some things, because if you work your tail off and you never
for
take advantage
what?
of the fruit
Yeah.
you're eventually going to say, is this even worth it?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. For what? And you're going to reach burnout, and then you're going to burn it down.
Yeah, that's some powerful stuff out there, because I know there's so many. The big talk, a lot of common talk right now is those agents reaching out for that first assistant.
Right.
or first transaction coordinator, someone that takes some of the load off of them,
Yeah.
so they're not up all night long going to the MLS. They're getting a call,
I see too many team owners that hire more of them. They hire another quarterback. They hire multiple quarterbacks on the same team. Well, you don't need that. You
right.
need
I love that analogy.
You need the other parts.
I love that. Now, do you use a DISC assessment, or what do you?
We do DISC. We do KPA, which is
Okay.
a Keller Personality Assessment. It goes
Right.
deeper than that.
Because
it goes behavioral and personality, and then we go into life story, motivation. Because I want to know, if someone comes in my organization, I know what their entire life looked like, where they struggled, where they excelled. If
they
they're
like to
in
do.
a funk,
Yeah.
I know how to pull them out of it.
Powerful stuff. I'm hearing this from, again, John Brooks was on the other day. We sat after the show and talked about this stuff.
Yeah.
But you're hiring, and it doesn't matter whether you're in real estate or out there right now.
Yeah.
There's really good assessments out there, because there are people who like to sit in the cube and just handle customer service and the paperwork and so forth. There's others that need to get out and they make the phone ring. That's two separate personalities.
Yeah.
And
I'm
you
not
gotta
good
know.
at everything,
Yeah.
so you just leverage the things you're not as good at.
I think some of them hire the potential quarterback,
Sure.
thinking, oh, this guy's, but that potential quarterback comes into play. You put him in a cubicle. He's doing all the support. He's
Yeah.
like, okay, I know enough now. But the reality, you become so dependent on them,
Yeah.
and then they're like, you're not going to promote me. I'm out of here.
Right.
Yeah.
Or you're not bringing value to me anymore. Why would I stay?
Right. Exactly.
Why would they stay?
Exactly. And
Yeah.
obviously we know the power of keeping an employee long term and so forth. All right. We talked about several things. These are I circle back on this because I'm telling everyone I'm going to write a book on this, because these are common themes. But just so we could touch base back, education. We talked about the importance of going, whether it's convention, reading, and so forth. How about just going down to like NEFAR and going and taking the classes that are down there?
Yeah, sure. And expanding your certifications.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And not just go, oh, I got my C's for the year, I'm done.
Right.
You should actually keep going.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
How much time do you think, or maybe some of the new agents you coach, that they should be spending on some of that stuff? What percentage of their time do you think?
New agents, I wouldn't. On education, yes, but on increasing their certifications,
No,
I think
you don't get paid more because you have a certification.
Right. No. Okay, thank you. Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
but just educating themselves on being around, talking to others, or
I was talking to my friend Mal Washington. I don't know if you know him, but he talked about how he implemented something where 10 minutes a day, he's looking at something educational for whatever focus he has.
Right.
10 minutes a day, which is like
nothing.
91
Well,
hours.
it's like everyone says, just
over the
read
year.
10 pages in the book a day.
Yeah.
A lot of your personal development books are actually set up 10, 12 pages, and that's a chapter or section.
So I would say it needs to be a daily habit, the education piece. And you can do conferences and so on and so forth. But if you're going to truly become educated in investing, 10 minutes a day. If you're going to become educated in senior areas, 10 minutes a day. Luxury.
Break it down. I mean, you can go on YouTube and find all this stuff too. Watch a 10, 15-minute YouTube video
Podcasts,
a day.
Audibles, it's all there.
Yeah, it's all there.
Yep.
Surrounding yourself by successful people. Mm-hmm. We talked about that earlier.
Yeah.
How it impact to reach out. And some of these new agents, I mean, I imagine you're accessible. Email you, call you. Your phone number's out there.
Yes.
I mean,
It's not, but
if you want sit down with Sarah, and maybe you want to be on her team.
Yeah.
Talk to her about that, or just talk to her about her ideas of how she created the team.
Yeah, I love sharing.
Mm-hmm.
I do, and I will always give someone homework to turn into me to earn my time.
Oh, interesting.
And if they don't turn in the homework, most don't turn in the homework.
Most don't turn in the homework.
But then
I agree with that.
they don't earn the opportunity. Yeah.
Consistencies. If you look back in 6 years, and maybe it's something you just started, but what have you been consistently doing throughout your entire through your career? And I'm sure it's developed as you joined the team, but what are the things that are consistently that you are doing? That is the foundation of your success.
My work love language is responsiveness, like acts of service.
Mm-hmm.
So from a success in my business, I love by being extremely responsive to the team.
Sense of urgency.
Yeah, well, it's to customers, but it's more so like to my team, giving them, if they have a question, I come with knowledge. If they need something, I'm there. So being like oddly responsive.
You start to wean them off a little bit, though.
Because
they can come over dependent, right?
No, because you just teach them.
Yeah.
Hey, if I didn't answer that question, where would you go? And then next time they don't come because they know where they would go.
All right, you need to give them a homework assignment, and then maybe they don't come
exactly.
back. All right, all right. Summarize. If a new agent came to you, or maybe a new agent on the team, what are 3 things you're telling them right now that they need to do to be successful in this business? 3 things.
3 things. Definitely make sure you know who you are. Number 1, like do an assessment on yourself. Figure out who you are, so you know if you're in the right industry. First,
self-assess.
Self-assess.
Okay.
Make sure you have people in your circle, the 5 you hang out with. If you need a new circle, you seek it out in audiobooks or podcasts. Make that your circle. And then be ready to work hard for at least 2 years and have the patience to get the result. Have patience, delayed gratification. If you do not have that, you will not last.
You can help yourself by surrounding yourself by the successful people, and obviously self-assess yourself will make that 2 years a little more enjoyable versus just trying to learn something, recreate the wheel.
Yes.
Because there's people out there like yourself who are resources, who are willing to help. As every top agent on here is willing, they all are giving back. Is why a lot of you guys created teams.
Right.
You know,
because that becomes your passion.
I think I asked this question earlier. Well, actually, no, I'm going to change that because I skipped this one here earlier.
Okay.
I want to finish up with this. Correct me if I'm wrong. From what I have evaluated on your social media, you seem to have developed a lot of processes and so forth for your team. Am I correct?
Yes.
Okay. Tell us a process that you maybe got at a convention or read or heard on a podcast or even heard something and just recreated it to your own.
Okay, yeah.
A process that you've implemented in your team that you work every day.
Yeah, so it's definitely the promise. We call it the promise. So before we work with a customer, agree to work with them or work with us, we give them a promise that will give them a 5-star experience. And in return, they have to give us a referral or a review. And if we get to the closing table and we don't have one of those, then we're going to sit down and be like, okay, what could have we done differently to make it a 5-star experience?
So you set this expectation up front, at the front, that we're going to be asking you for a review or a referral in the end. Yeah. So be ready.
Is it okay if I don't have those at the closing table as we revisit why? Yeah.
I've heard someone else talking about that. I am trying to implement it on It's tough to teach, but you have to stay on it.
Yeah.
But it is important. Set the expectation up front for that referral.
Right.
You know, that's which is a great comment, or obviously just a review. All right. We're going to go in our 2-minute warning questions that we're going to round up as we've been just about an hour now.
Okay.
Is it more important who you know or what you know?
Oh, who you know.
Who you know. So in your career, who was that who that kind of gave you that little...
Gosh, every coach I have. Every coach I've had.
Yeah, getting to know them, getting to know you, and giving you that great advice.
Yeah.
Now you travel a lot. Besides Montana, imagine Montana's not really a bucket list. Which on your travel bucket list?
Oh man, I go to Iceland, a solo trip with a group that I've never met in September.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So that's been on there.
Yeah, my cousin and my aunt actually went. Well, it's actually right before COVID. Yeah. But yeah, it is an interesting. My wife wants to stay in one of those ice hotels.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So.
And the kids want to go to Hawaii, so we'll probably do that. And then right now I'm getting my dual citizenship in Italy.
Oh. Why is that?
Because I'm able to through my family, and the kids will all be dual citizens as well.
Interesting.
So.
We're loan officers here,
yes.
So I'm going to finish up with a loan officer question.
Great, I love it.
Kind of, if you haven't listened to all my, this is, some people have listened
I've listened to all 64.
You did not, you liar. You have some referral partners, some of them you've been probably using for years, even in not just maybe just loans, just whatever. What is the number one thing that you require out of that referral partner relationship?
They have to get the team's buy-in.
So they
will work on me a lot, and it's not me.
Right.
they have to be, well, customer service is a given, but
Right.
if there's one thing, they will get the buy-in. They will
You'll open the
nurture
door
the
for them, but
relationship
they've got to build the relationship
of
with the rest of the team.
everyone on the team.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay,
I
that
will
was actually
not force them to use anyone.
interesting.
Yeah.
That's actually a new one. Communication is generally the common answer that I
Okay,
get for
I
that
mean,
one.
that's a
But you
given.
actually dug a little deeper with
Well,
that.
I think your customer becomes the agent.
Mm-hmm.
The
Yes.
customer service to our customer should already be there.
Right.
You're not coming through the door if you don't have a reputation.
Right.
So then the one thing you could do would be that.
All right. I like it. Sarah, appreciate you coming
Yeah,
on. Finally.
absolutely. Thank you.
Thank
I know.
you. Hopefully, we'll edit that
Hopefully
video.
it was good enough,
hopefully that
but-
Facebook didn't cut out too much. We didn't lose too much of it, but
it's okay.
but we'll definitely put the video together from that. The audio will be out next week,
Great.
and I'll share that with you so
Awesome.
you can put on your social media. Thank
Appreciate
you.
I'm excited.